Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Vietnamese Ghost Stories channel, a place to tell haunting ghost stories imbued with spirituality and imbued with Vietnamese folk culture. In the quiet darkness, amidst the sound of the wind whistling through the bamboo bushes and the cold silver moonlight, a mother still quietly returns. Even though her body is deep in the grave, her heart still beats for her newborn baby. She did not return to scare, not to take revenge. She only returned to breastfeed her baby, to hold her baby in her cold arms, and to protect her baby from the beatings of her evil stepmother. That mother did not need light, did not need status. She just needed to be with her baby, even if it was just for one night. This is not only a ghost story, but also a sad song of maternal love that transcends the boundary between life and death. Please listen to the story, The Mother on the Other Side of the Underworld. A tearful, heartbreaking, and creepy ghost story told by someone who witnessed it from beginning to end. Be prepared, because tonight she might be standing behind you, if you are the mother who promised never to leave her child behind. I didn't think I would tell this story. I also didn't think I would have to say something that my entire village had avoided for years. But if I didn't tell it, no one would know how much she loved her child. My house was at the end of the village, right next to the old bamboo grove, where the villagers often said, "There are more ghost snakes than real pythons." And I didn't believe in ghosts until the night Nan died. Nyun married Tan, an orphan whose family had nothing but a dilapidated shack, a broken bed, and eyes that looked at life without hope. But when she married Nan, everyone was amazed. Nan was the first daughter of Mrs. Howe, the most difficult and foul-mouthed woman in the village. She was beautiful, capable, and good at writing. She had studied until grade 12, knew how to type and how to type rental applications. Mrs. Howe strongly objected, but Nan argued back and left home to follow Tan. The pregnancy also started from there. My village is small. Everything flies faster than the sound of a rooster crowing. As soon as it was morning, someone said that Nan has a big belly but still smiles innocently. And someone whispered, "How can she give birth? Her face is as green as a banana leaf." I listened and could only sigh. As a woman, giving birth is like gambling with the devil. What's more, in this village where every year 1 or 2 children die young and the grass on their mothers' graves is not yet green. That day was a hot night in the middle of summer. The wind did not blow. The sky stood still as if someone was holding it back. I lay there, fanning myself, unable to sleep. Around midnight, I heard a scream from the house next door. It was Tan's voice. "Yun, hang in there! Hang in there! Oh my God! Is there anyone? Help!" I jumped up and ran over. Several neighbors also hurriedly pulled on their slippers, carried oil lamps, and rushed over. Inside the house, the lights flickered like ghosts. In the middle of the ground was a pool of dark red blood, spreading from under the rotten wooden bed. Nyun lay motionless, eyes wide open, unblinking. At her feet was a red baby, crying incessantly, blood still covering its body. Tan sat on the floor, both hands covering his face, crying like a wounded animal. A neighbor immediately picked up the child, wrapped it in a clean cloth, and I knelt down beside Nan's body. She was cold, very cold. No one said anything to anyone, but everyone knew she had died during childbirth. The next morning, the news spread throughout the village. People came in droves like a festival, not because of much grief, but out of curiosity. A beautiful young girl, dead right after giving birth. A living child, crying and sucking its thumb in a torn diaper. Ton was absent-minded like a person who had lost his soul. I saw him sitting by his wife's coffin the whole time, not eating or drinking, his eyes sunken, holding the wooden comb Nan used to comb his hair. The newborn baby was brought home to be bathed and breastfed with my daughter, who had just turned 8 months old. I named her Lan because her eyes sparkled like dewdrops on flower petals. Nyan's funeral took place in silence. Not a sound of trumpets, not a chant. Only Tan's muffled cries and the soft lullaby I sang to drown out the feeling of fear creeping under my skin. That night the weather was hot again. I couldn't sleep. Lon slept in the crib next to my bed. A gentle wind blew in from the window, carrying the smell of new earth, the damp, cold smell from the grave that had been filled yesterday. At that moment I heard something very light. The lullaby. I didn't know where it came from, like the wind whistling through the leaves, like someone whispering in the night. Ow! The wind carries the banana bushes behind the summer I really love you. Will you come back, honey? I shivered. No one in my family sang that song. No one in the village sang it either. But I had heard Nan sing this lullaby right before the day she died. I jumped up and ran back to the bed. Lon was still sleeping, but that little mouth was wet with milk, as if she had just been fed. I was stunned. I hadn't fed her yet. I didn't tell anyone, because I thought I was seeing things. Until the following days, strange things started to happen. Tan didn't touch his child. He left Lon in my care, and every day he sat quietly by Nan's altar. Several times I advised him to find the will to live again, but he just looked at me, his eyes empty. 3 weeks later, someone saw Tan standing alone talking in Nan's grave. No, not exactly alone. That person, Uncle Thuong at the village entrance, said that he saw a white shadow sitting next to her, long hair covering her face, holding something in his arms. Then the shadow disappeared into the mist. The whole village was in an uproar. Some people said Nan had not left yet. Her soul still lingered. Some people whispered, the dead loved their children so much, it was hard to let them go. As for me, I did not dare to believe it, but I did not deny it either, because I began to hear the sound of doors opening at night. The footsteps were very light, as if someone was walking barefoot on the ground. And every morning Lon slept very soundly, her mouth wet with milk, her hand tightly holding a long black strand of hair. One night, I tried to stay awake to keep watch. Around midnight, the sky was as dark as a coal mine. I heard the window rattling. Then a cold wind blew in. I held my breath, looking out towards the crib. A woman was bending over Len. It was not someone I knew. Her face was pale. Her eyes were like two empty black holes. Her long black hair hung down. But I recognized it. It was Nan. She was looking at her child. Her eyes at that moment had something, not anger nor sadness, but a heart-wrenching love. She bent down, pulled open her white morning shirt, and Lon began to suckle as if she had never eaten before. I wanted to scream, to rush forward, but my whole body felt like it was being pressed down. My mouth stiffened, my hands shook like I had malaria. Nyan turned her head to look at me. Her eyes were filled with tears, and she whispered, "Ma'am, don't let anyone hurt my child." The next morning, I had a high fever of nearly 39 degrees. Tan came to visit, looked at me for a long time, and suddenly asked, "Did you see Nan come back too?" I could only nod. From then on, I understood one thing, that Mother had not left. And somehow she still stayed every night in the wind, in the cold mist, to hold her child, to protect her child, to lull her to sleep in this cruel world. But the tragedy had only just begun. From the night I saw Nan return to breastfeed her child, everything was no longer the same for me. I began to believe that maternal love could transcend the boundary between life and death. It was no longer a superstition, as the villagers whispered to each other. It was the truth. And because of that, I was even more afraid when I heard that Tan was about to get a new wife. Less than 3 months after Nan's burial, Tan came to my house to ask for Lan back. He said, "You have taken care of her since she was born. I am very grateful. But I am about to have a new wife. Someone will take care of her." I stood still for a long time, not because I felt sorry for the child, but because I knew the woman in the grave would not let it go. I handed the child back in silence. I told her, if anything strange happens to her, don't leave her alone. Nan is still around. Tan smiled faintly. That smile sent shivers down my spine. Tan's new wife was Lai, the daughter of a merchant from the district. She was fair-skinned and sharp, but her eyes always had a cold glint. From the day Lai stepped into Tan's house, the air around that house seemed to thicken, heavy with the smell of burning incense, heavy with gossip. I heard people say that the first night Lai slept there, her hair was singed. No one knew why. Some said that she forgot to turn off the candle while cooking. Some said that at midnight, people saw a white shadow standing in front of the room door, staring at Lan's crib. As for me, I knew that Nan's hair was long and jet black, and she treasured her hair. People said that if a dead person was angry, he would burn the hair of his enemy as a warning. From that day on, Lai began to hate Lan openly. Lan was just over 3 months old at that time. She knew how to look, how to smile, and especially how to smile at the invisible space. I used to ask, "Lan, who are you looking at?" She pointed at the blank wall, giggling. Mom lulls me to sleep." Every time she said that, my back went cold. I often went to visit Lan, but every time Lai glared at me, deliberately closing the door, not letting me in. One time I heard a slap, a cry, a scolding. "You son of a rotten woman, you're just a bad luck charm." I knocked on the door. Lai didn't open it. Tan was away, working as a mason in a faraway district. That night I couldn't sleep. I heard a baby crying from the house next door. The crying was uneven, muffled. Mixed in there was a mournful lullaby as if coming from underground. Oh, Mommy's here, baby. Mommy loves you so much, don't cry anymore, baby. That night the whole village lost electricity. The next morning I went over. I saw a small, pale handprint on Lan's cheek. It was not swollen, not bruised, but cold as ice in the middle of winter. I touched it, feeling like I was touching ice. Lai came out of the room, her face pale. She stared at me, then turned to mumble, "She's back." She looked at me in the mirror. Her hair dripped onto my face. I didn't say anything, but I knew. Nan was angry. A week later, it happened. That night was the full moon. The moon was red as blood. The whole village seemed to be immersed in a strange fog. I was getting ready to go to bed when I heard a scream from Tan's house. I rushed over. The door was wide open. The smell of burning incense, burnt hair, and sour yogurt mixed together like something that didn't belong to this world. Lai sat slumped next to the crib. Her eyes were white, her mouth was wide open, and her wrists were covered in blood. Lan lay in the crib, eyes wide open. On her chest was a baby towel that someone had just covered her. I hugged Lan. Her whole body was warm and smelled of milk, completely different from the cold summer night outside. On the wall, a line of words written in blood was clearly visible. "Touch my child, I will take him away." Tan came home the next morning. Seeing that scene, he went crazy. Lai was silent like a mute, not speaking, not eating, just sitting with her knees in the corner of the house, her eyes empty as if her soul had been ripped out. From that day on, Lan was sent back to me to raise. No one dared to keep her anymore. But one night later, while I was sleeping, I heard someone knocking on the door. 3 times, slowly. Knock, knock, knock. I walked out and opened the door. There was no one. But on the doorstep there was a bundle of long black hair tied with a red ribbon. And inside there was a small piece of paper scrawled like it was shaking. "Tomorrow night I'll pick him up. Let him go." I collapsed. No more tears. I knew what was coming. And I just hoped it would be gentle. I couldn't sleep that night. From the moment I picked up the bundle of hair and the piece of paper, I knew the time of separation had come. But knowing was one thing, and the feeling of having to let a young child leave my arms, even to return to her biological mother, was another. Lan was over 6 months old. She knew how to call Mom, although she usually called into the air, looking up at the ceiling and giggling. Every time she did that, I felt cold but also wanted to cry. She was never afraid of ghosts. Maybe because her mother had never scared her. That night, the wind blew early. The sound of the wind was not like the usual night winds, but howled in gusts, as if someone was crying. The areca tree in front of my yard swayed, creaking like a hammock. The scent of incense drifted in from somewhere, so strong it hurt my brain. I held Lon tightly in my arms, sat next to the door, opened it slightly, waited. But my heart trembled like a dry branch. Near midnight, the oil lamp suddenly flickered and then went out. The space seemed to freeze. I heard someone's footsteps coming from the end of the alley. Light, but resounding, as if stepping on each sole on the ground. A white shadow flickered, gradually becoming clearer under the pale moonlight. It was Nan. She was wearing the white aobab that she used to wear. Her long hair was loose, covering half of her face. But when she raised her head, that look was the look of a mother who used to lull her child to sleep in the rainy night. No resentment, no hatred, only tears. I was silent. Lan in my arms began to move, not crying, not screaming, but stretching her two hands forward, her mouth babbling. "Mom, Mom!" A cold wind swept across my face. When I opened my eyes, Nan was standing right next to me. I clearly saw the tears under the skirt, the purple hands still holding the bundle of hair that I returned at the door. She bent down and hugged Lan. I wasn't afraid, but my tears kept falling. Not because I missed the baby, but because of Nan's eyes when she looked at me, like an unspoken thank you. The wind stopped. A soft lullaby echoed in the quiet space. "Ow, the wind sways the bamboo branches." Mom came to pick up the baby. We're apart. I saw Lan fall asleep, peacefully as if she had never been hurt. Yun held her baby, walking as light as smoke. She turned to look at me one last time, giving me a faint smile. A smile of a mother who could finally hold her baby in her arms without needing milk, without needing blood. Just needing warmth. Then she disappeared into the mist. The next morning, people found me lying in front of the door, holding an old baby towel in my arms. Lan had disappeared. Nobody found the body. No one heard the crying. No footprints. Only a long black hair remained on the threshold, tied with a red ribbon. The villagers still tell the story of the ghost mother who returned to lull her child to sleep and pick him up after being abused by her stepmother. They embellished it, saying that Lai then left the village and went abroad, her hair falling out in clumps for no reason. As for Tan, he lived alone, burning incense for his wife and child every full moon. As for me, the one telling this story, every time I pass by the bamboo bushes behind the house when it is getting dark, I still hear the soft lullaby in the wind. Awo, here is your mother, a sacred motherly love that reaches the end of life. A child never has to be alone.